big, too broke, no hope. Never listen hard-headed. Putting in work, overtime on the low. Only did what God tell me. Nigga big, shining, big dominant.
You know I'm not going to waste because of you, no. So let me call her my side bitch. I'm just looking for some love. She already know what's up, 'cause I get so lonely. I really do. I can't let it go. My feelings control me. You never come through. What I'm supposed to do when I don't want no one but you. I get so lonely. I do. I can't let feelings control me. You never come through. What I'm supposed to do.
Welcome to Artist to Artist at the AV Club. It's your boy Westside here with a special guest today.
I'm not the special guest. You're the star, man. It's all
Nah,
y'all, man.
come on, man. Don't be modest, Ronnie. Come on, man. Today is not the day to be modest, man. Today we are here to talk about your journey and your success that you received in this music industry. And go ahead and give him a firm introduction for yourself.
Oh man, it depends on where you know me from. Whether you know me as Ronnie VOP, formerly as Ronnie VOP. Some people know me as my name, Ronnie Smith Jr. from Television Success. But right now, currently just Ronnie V, walking into the new chapter.
All right. So we want to thank you for coming on to the show, Artist to Artist. So on this platform, we like to just dive into people's music journey, ins and outs of what the journey was for you. That's mainly like the concept of the show, right?
Yeah.
So
sure.
I want to start. So I know you in passing, in a sense. I think we went to the same school.
Okay.
Right. And the last time I seen you in person, so what I would do is when I would get out of school, like I would say like 7th, 8th grade, I would take the train, tri-rail down to West Palm, Mangonia Park. And the last time I seen you, I think you was going south. So you was probably going towards Miami. Yeah. And we was at the Hollywood station. I think that's where we was. And that's when I seen you. I seen you from across the tracks.
But we didn't speak, but you saw me.
No, we said what's up to each other.
Oh, we did? Okay.
Yeah, so it was like I know you from in passing, and I feel like I know we went to school with each other. I feel like I don't know if it was middle school. I think it might have been middle school. Did you go to Renaissance?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's how I know you. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I went to Renaissance too. And then the next time I seen you, it was funny. It was a studio in Miami. My cousin, he was working out of there at that time.
Okay.
And he was in the B room. It was like a smaller room that they had like the whole setup. But this is like him getting into his engineering bag. And we was working on some stuff. And he's like, oh, there go Ronnie right there. And then I seen you walking in on the cameras. I was like, oh, that's Ronnie. But you went into your studio, said, I wasn't going to interrupt you because I'm like,
no,
you locked in
sure,
on music right now. You feel me? So
I did go to Renaissance. So that's a fact. So that's probably where we're first, familiarized with each other. The Renaissance Middle School. As far as the tri-rail, yes, that was kind of like my transportation. Aside from being from Miami and going to Renaissance, which is in Broward, but eventually I moved to West Palm. My mother moved me and my brothers up there.
Okay.
So my mom kind of was cool. She loved West Palm. She had retired from public school teaching for like 30 years.
Shout out to Mom Dukes.
Yeah, shouts out to Mom.
Educators, shout out to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mom, like I said, she was, very comfortable with the new move in West Palm. So in order for me to get to Miami, I would have to take the tri-rail.
Yeah.
Because my mom was not going to drive down there every
Going back
day,
and forth.
especially for what I wanted to do. I still wanted to pursue my music. And considering that it was West Palm, there really wasn't, a musical scene that I was familiar with.
That's true.
So because I was already somewhat, getting familiar with the artists down here and kind of just staying in the studios, being a sponge, that was my transportation, tri-rail. But it was pretty fire too because with the tri-rail, it allowed me to kind of just have my own moment to gather inspiration, stopping at every stop, seeing different people from different walks of life, seeing how people loved, how whatever it was that people may have been. I was a sponge. I listened to so many different stories on the tri-rail, and it kind of inspired me to write, about different things. So yeah. Shouts out to the tri-rail.
Shout out to the tri-rail, man. I want to say shout out to them. I used to ride the tri-rail a lot because I'm originally from West Palm, so like my peoples is down that way.
What part?
Not Mangonia, like 44th, 45th, that area.
Mongolia is a little bit further.
Yeah, that's the closest stop to where my auntie stay.
Okay, gotcha.
So my auntie I think it's called Australia. It's right across from St. Mary's Hospital.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's basically like the house that I kind of grew up in because like growing up, my parents separated. So my aunt and uncle seen, what was going on. So they grabbed me and like took care of me, as I got older before I moved up this way. So I would go down that way to stay with my cousins on weekends, summertime and stuff like that. So, but you was right about that. Like Trial Rail, you experience a lot. It's different kind of people that come on from different areas, walks of life.
It's different, when you're in the vehicle or in the car with your family and you're comfortable.
Yeah.
You got your mom with you, you got an auntie, you got whoever it is, you're with people that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
It's a different situation when you get on the tri-rail and you have to, somewhat just coexist, with so many different people from so many different walks of life.
Yeah.
Not to prolong this story, but I can recall one time when the tri-rail got into a very bad accident and it caught on fire.
Oh.
And we all had to, evacuate immediately.
Yeah.
We were just about to reach Cypress Creek.
Yeah, around over there, yeah.
And, it was crazy. People are jumping out of the second floor of the train. Mind you, this is nighttime, so we can hardly see because we hadn't made it to the stop yet.
Yeah.
So people are jumping off from the second floor. People are running from the bottom floor. A lot of the guys, myself, some guys that I can recall, even though it was dark, but I knew that everybody wasn't black. They were white guys. They were Spanish guys. We all were trying to fight to open up the fence gate so that we can get through and get the ladies and the children through.
Yeah.
Before we felt like the train would explode. So I guess the point that I'm getting to is when I get back to coexist is learning how to just be human and being there for each other, you know what I mean? In a situation where, you already just felt like, I'm on this train and I'm by myself. But the reality of it is that we're sharing this together. You just never know.
We're all a part, a unit.
Yeah,
we're trying to get to destination.
Crazy part about it is I still have friends from all kind of walks of life that I keep in contact with till this day.
Yeah.
Shouts out to my good friend Robin.
Shout out to Robin.
She probably isn't expecting this, but literally I met her on the train, and she's an older Caucasian lady. And one day I was just listening to some music that I wrote on the train. I recorded it. I'm on my way back home on the train.
Yeah.
And I just said, excuse me, would you mind listening to this and tell me how you feel about it? And till this day, with all of my success and accomplishments, she always reaches out to me and we keep in contact. She always tells me, I remember when you were that kid on the train. Like,
just
I'm so proud. Yeah.
That's fire.
Yeah, man.
Shout out to Robin.
Shout
out to Robin.
Miss Robin. Yeah.
I love that because even in the situation you was telling, like, a lot of people get labeled nowadays, things like that. A lot of things that create lines that divide people. But in a situation where like a fire is happening, all those things are stripped away. And at that time, we're all people and we're all just trying to make it out alive. So, and then it's just the fact that she felt it vital to stay in touch and to keep reaching out even afterwards from that interaction with you. It's a beautiful thing, you know what I mean? So Tri-Rail, shout out to y'all boys, man. Shout out to y'all boys. Y'all get another one. So let me ask you, where does music start for you? Because you said you was already doing music at that time before you even moved to West Palm, right?
Right.
All right, so where does it start for you?
So, do we have the time, first of all?
Nah, we good. Go ahead.
I would say that the love of music started for me way before I even knew that there was a connection, really. And I know that story has probably been told before, and I know that everybody says, I've been singing since I was 5, and I get it, you know what I mean? It being a little cliche, but at the same token, my mom would tell me how when she was pregnant with me, my dad loved to ride around in his Cadillac with her on the passenger seat. And everybody in my family or anybody that knew my dad knew that this story, of him having just a great sound system in the car. And it would just, the bass was
everything
just,
for
was
you.
just serious. But I'm in the womb. I think that my love for it, could have started from there. The same way that me singing to my son in his mother's womb created his love for music. You know what I mean? But to stay on, where it started for me, I just think that God is so amazing, you know, and I think that he blessed me with something that would help be the soundtrack of my life,
Yeah.
you know. Um, my dad was murdered when I was 11 days old.
Oh, I'm sorry
And
to hear that.
so I was born February, I can never pronounce that month. February the 7th. My mom and dad celebrated, or hardly celebrated, their 1-year anniversary, which was February the 15th.
Yeah.
And then my dad was murdered February the 18th. I believe that God knew that I would grow up an empath. I believe that God knew that I would, you know, somewhat live, but never really know how to, you know, deal with the loss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a situation where, and I'm sorry if I'm going left, but it's just
No,
my
you
story,
good. You good. Yeah.
It wasn't a situation where, you know how some guys, they grow up, they learn to live without pops because maybe pops was never in the picture, or maybe pops, you know, wasn't
In and
with
out.
mom, you know, in and out, you know, maybe there are many stories that was told about pops. From what I'm hearing about my dad was a great man.
Shout out to
All
Pops.
around, yeah, shouts out to
Shout out to
Pops.
Pops.
All around the border, you know, all around the border, a great man. And so, you know, it was definitely just something that I felt like I missed out on, you know?
Yeah.
So fast forward, I'm about 5, 6 years old. I'm in the bathroom and I'm singing this song. I can't remember what I was singing, but I was singing something. I can recall getting ready for school that morning.
Yeah.
And I'm singing, and I hear my mom on the other side of the door saying, "No, listen, he really can sing." I think she was on the phone with my grandmother because that's their traditional thing where they're on the phone every morning,
Yeah.
you know, like clockwork, just talking, getting prepared for the day.
Part of daily routine.
Because I recall my grandmother picking me up from school after school that day. And I'm in the back seat, I'm singing,
Yeah.
and she looks back and she's like, "Okay, we got to do something with this." Ironically, my grandmother and I are the only singers in our family,
Shout out to
immediate or
grandma.
extended.
Shout out to grandma. Shout out to moms too. Shout out to grandma.
Moms too.
Yeah.
But my grandmother was my angel. She took what it was, you know, what it seemed to be, and just helped me, you know, refine it, sharpen it. She became my vocal coach. She was my teacher. She was my visionary. She was my mentor. She was my manager. My grandmother was my manager.
Shout out to grandma.
And it was every day like clockwork. Every day after school, I get home, I do my homework.
Yeah.
And I'm in rehearsal. My grandmother had me doing this for maybe a year. And then the first time that I ever performed somewhere was, I think it was my cousin's memorial.
Oh.
Yeah. But my grandmother told me that if you could do the memorial, I believe in my heart you could do anything.
Yeah.
A lot of singers, and some singers can do one thing,
but they can't
don't do
something
well
else
with the other.
Yeah.
But she felt like if I did the memorial, you know, I would, you know, kind of just persevere through any occasion. So I did it, and from there, it just became a lifestyle.
Did you feel the emotions like when you were singing, like, you know, with the energy in the room based off of the memorial? Did that, would you say, pushed you as far as like getting out there and like really wanting to attack that challenge of singing in front of everybody like that?
For sure. Because it was a family member. You know, I was so young, so I didn't get I knew of my cousin, but I didn't get the opportunity to really, you know, create a bond with her. She was an older lady. But seeing my other family members just very, you know, heartbroken, and you can obviously feel that the energy in the room is a lot different from when I'm now, you know, doing festivals or doing other occasions.
Yeah.
So I think that it is a gift when you can somewhat, you know, just help lift that energy up, you know? And because I was this little boy, you know, singing with such a big voice at the time, it definitely was uplifting. And I was just thankful that I had been given something that was able to, you know, if the term is not turn the negative into a positive light, because it wasn't negative energy, but definitely just, you know, just bring some light into the room. You know what I mean? And I was honored to do that. And I'm honored that my grandmother has always been my biggest inspiration and my vessel, you know.
Shout out to grandma. I gotta give her another shout out.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times when I talk to artists, some of them, they start off usually I'm not gonna say usually, sometimes by themselves. So they don't have necessarily someone in the field or experience in the field to kind of guide them. And so it's really more so like wandering in the dark until you find something.
And I don't know if, you know, we're letting the people know that we're in South Florida. I mean, I'm from, we talked
South
about
Florida.
Florida today, right?
Yeah.
But, I think that's another one of those reasons. You know, a lot of us do have to, you know, figure it out on our own. When you're coming from a city that does not glorify R&B, that does not glorify it in the way that it should, that does not glorify vocals in the way that it should, does not glorify gospel in the way that it should.
Yeah.
Anything just pertaining to, you know, just the amazing vocalists that come from South Florida, we don't really, you know, highlight that as much as we should, which is another reason why I am so thankful that I am here with you and how much it means to me. I don't know if I'm talking too much, but this is actually my first podcast.
Oh, shout out to you. Shout out to you. Welcome to A2A Podcast.
And I'm thankful for that. You know what I mean? I can imagine that and the reason I'm saying that right now is because I can imagine how many I probably would have done considering my resume, considering the things that I have been blessed to do if I was in California, if I was in Atlanta, if I was in certain spaces that will highlight that as much as we highlight football down here, or as much as we highlight the rap scene down here. South Florida in general has so much to offer, but you know, there's some vocalists down here that they got something to say
That's actually one of my topics that I wanted to touch base on. But I'm gonna say that for a little bit later on, because we in the beginning phases, right? Yeah, so I know you were saying that your grandma was pretty much like the team in the beginning, right? Yeah. So did your team get bigger at any point? And no, so it's grandma that is the one that...
My grandmother was a hardcore spiritual woman. You know, so when I started, hence me saying the memorial, of course that would be my grandmother's, not just because she felt like that would make me stronger, but also because, you know, this is her field. She's a missionary in the church. She's an evangelist. So anytime there's a loved one that has passed, or anytime there's someone in the church that has passed, she's there to step up in any way possible. How can we do this? So it wasn't just that one particular memorial. That was just my first time ever performing out, but I had been doing this consecutively for years. I'm talking about from the time I was 7, probably with my grandmother, by the time I was 7, probably all the way up to 13 years old.
Oh, so you was a vet as a child.
Every Saturday. Yeah. And then it went from every Saturday to no matter what day of the week something was going on. Me and my grandmother were very close. Very close. And pretty much if she was rocking, I was rolling. Yeah. You know, she took pride in managing me, you know, and then it went from that to not just memorials, weddings, bookings like crazy, whether I was singing Stevie Wonder songs or anything that was, and she was so dope with it, depending on the colors of the wedding or whatever, I had to match. Oh, that's fire. Back then, you know, like around that time, wedding colors were so serious, like, but I mean, it used to be the craziest colors. It'll be, the wedding colors are lime green and
you got to go with a lime green suit
and ivory. We'll go right to 20th Street. And we'll go to Peter's, and I'm walking in the wedding with a lime green linen suit with some pink. It was hilarious, bro. Hilarious. But it was the love and just what she poured into me. You know what I mean? And so, fast forward 13. Yeah. I'm listening to more music. You know what I mean? I'm kind of coming into my own. I'm at New Renaissance now. Yeah. You know, Lovers and Friends by Usher is like one of the biggest records. God. I was listening to that earlier. The Valentine's Day dance is coming up. Remember, that was a big thing at Renaissance. Yeah. And so, I'm at the dance. I'm listening to music now. I'm like, okay, I want to kind of go back home and see what more I can get into. And I think that my love for music, whereas just one particular scenery or genre, it grew. And so it grew. And when my grandmother when she started to realize that it was growing into what they would consider the secular world, she fell back. Still had love for me, still wished me the absolute best with what it is that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
but I respect her decision in allowing me to grow. You know, a lot of the times it can be viewed as, you know, you being too, you know, religious or this, that, and the third. It was nothing like that. She definitely supported me. She definitely rooted for me. She just knew that maybe I've taken you as far as I can.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah. That's okay. That happens. Even with like friends.
Yeah.
You know, some friends, we would love to think that all our friends is gonna be around forever.
Right.
But there's some friends that's seasonal. It's like they're here to get you from this point to this point, and then you're gonna meet new people, and then they're gonna meet new people.
And I know.
And it's not like, you know, it's any hate. It's like you see each other. It's like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? You good?
None
and
whatsoever.
Then, you know, you go separate ways.
None whatsoever. You know, and so that's pretty much what happened. But because she somewhat let my hand go in a sense of the artist development, not as a grandson, and not as a family member, but it allowed me to grow, you know, and from there, it kind of just it's the next chapter of my life, you know.
That's deep. And I want to give a shout out to Renaissance too.
For sure.
Yeah, because that school right there, the way they ran that school, the creativity that was born out of that school, that's actually where I started like knowing that I had the ability to do some type of writing, because I started with poetry before anything. So the first ever poetry assignment or contest that I ever had was at New Renaissance.
That's dope.
And then I did it there. I met Devontae Webb, D Webb, another artist out of here,
I know him,
out of this area. So that's how I met him.
I saw shouting out to all the singers as well. I saw Marcel recently.
Yeah,
so
Marcel. That's how I met him. I met him out there.
His mom sung at my mom and dad's wedding. Back in 1992. So see, everything is just so, you know, shouts out to his brother Traction as well.
Yeah, shout out to them. Yeah. Very, very big musical family. Like he was telling me how many people in his family could sing. And it's like, oh, I can imagine like being in a household and it's like competition in a sense.
And even then, imagine how much inspiration is built around that.
Yeah.
So going back to the on my own thing, where a lot of people feel that way, once I moved into that next chapter, I definitely somewhat felt alone, you know, just trying to figure that out, you know. So it's definitely a blessing when, aside from coming from grandma, but in, you know, Marcel's situation, having a brother, having other, you know, family members that do somewhat of what you do. And I do have family members that do what I do, but singing is a lot different. You know,
that's
what
facts.
I mean?
That's facts.
Yeah. So, back to Renaissance though. I gotta highlight Renaissance simply because I was already doing like plays and things like that from elementary school and on down, but Renaissance was the highlight of my school years for sure.
Yeah. I think that was one of my favorites too. Like going to Renaissance as far as school wise.
It really felt like a family.
It really did.
And I know that may sound crazy.
Yeah.
Talking about middle school, but literally it felt like a family. And I could remember the last day of 8th grade year.
Oh man,
it
hit different.
Yeah,
everybody
really
broke down.
It did not hit like that for me in high school.
Nah, high school was like, all right, y'all. We
cool.
said bye like we were gonna see each other tomorrow. You know what I mean?
It's been real, but you know what though? We had at that time. We had Facebook. And I know at Renaissance we had MySpace, but Facebook was different. We had Facebook. Instagram was just getting ready to kick off.
That's
so
true.
We had certain things, you know what I mean, that still made us feel like we'll be connected.
Yeah, we'll see each other. Yeah.
We had Uvu, we had Skype, all of these things
all these
that we
Kick,
were using
different type of things that was starting to take off at that time.
You know, with Renaissance at that particular time, it was different. You really felt like you knew that this will never be the same. Because now we got some of us going off to Everglades, some of us going to Miramar.
That's facts.
What was the other?
Flanagan. Yeah.
So even as far as MacArthur, like a lot of people were just going different places. Even some of us was going back to Miami because
Carol City.
The
West. Yeah.
Shouts out to my cousin letting my mama use the address for the Renaissance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and that's where I ended up back. I was at Carol City.
Okay.
You know, until I moved to West Palm and finished school in West Palm. So, but yeah, and the support too. The support.
Yeah.
So going back to 13. I could remember, New Renaissance and 13, because that was around the time I started listening to, you know, more music.
Yeah.
I ended up landing an opportunity to do the Super Bowl kickoff. Shouts out to the Super Bowl, which is today as well. Right.
Oh, yeah, it is today.
And I ended up doing a Super Bowl kickoff concert with Diddy. He was looking for he wanted a few kids,
Yeah.
to do the concert with. And I was a part of this group called the Voices of Heritage. I had just got on with the group.
Okay.
And so they got us. And I never forget, I was at New Renaissance and I was telling everybody that I think I'm going to be leaving early because I'm supposed to be doing the concert with Diddy. Of course, nobody believed
Yeah,
me.
they're like, come on, really?
Of
You
course
going to
no.
see Diddy?
until the intercom,
Yeah.
the PA system
Called
said,
out.
early dismissal, Ronnie, early dismissal.
Yeah.
And all my friends are like,
Wait, what?
oh, is this really teachers? Oh, is this really happening? And so when I did that, for sure, that opened the doors for more opportunities. Not opportunities in a sense of more came from that, but just me believing in myself and knowing that more opportunities could come. So at that point, shouts out to my mom again. Shout
out to Mom.
She and my uncles, they kind of started trying to figure out what they could do with me.
Yeah.
So my Uncle Bruce, my Uncle Marvin, my mom, they had this company, City Music, and I started writing. My mom put a notebook and a pen in front of me and said, you got to start writing. My uncle started making the beats. And from there, I kind of just started, just writing and trying to come up. The funny part about this is the first song I ever wrote, I actually recorded, and it is hilarious to listen to this song now.
Oh, what makes it hilarious?
Ooh, listen, I was not.
The subject matter?
Subject matter was cool. But man, you know how that is. Whether you're looking at your first episode or whether you're always looking at the first of something and you can see the growth and appreciate the growth, But looking back, I was just not as ready as I thought I may have been at the time. But it's all a part of the journey. It's all a part of laying brick by brick, And so in between that gap or on my own, and then transitioning into that, I started doing more shows. I started just doing a lot more.
Yeah.
And but then at some point, life. So
yeah, I tell people life be lifing.
Yeah.
Like when I meet people and I find out they're artists, and we build a rapport, and especially if I'm interested in working with them, I always tell them like, hey, look, I understand life is going life. You're not always gonna be 100%.
For sure.
Sometimes you might fall off because life's just happening. You might stop for a couple months or whatever. And, whenever you get back and you're fully prepared, then, we keep working,
For sure.
So that's one of the things. So I know you were saying at some point you was feeling alone after the separation as far as like with your grandma working with you as your manager. So what was some of the other hurdles that you felt or you experienced in your journey in music that impacted you?
And as far as being alone with grandma, it was once again, I started writing and things like that, and then, going in the studio, which was new for me. But I guess when I say alone, I mean just, my mom couldn't tell me how to do.
Yeah, it's a different kind
things. Or my uncles, they knew what they wanted to do, but they didn't know how to really explain to me how to hit this note, how to do that. So it was me really trying to train myself at this point, because there's a different way that you're going to approach R&B music compared to, Christian music, you know what I mean, or contemporary gospel or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that was the transition. But the hurdle that, or some of the hurdles that may have just impacted the music, really the loss of my dad. Like that really, really, took a toll and was just a heartache that I had to carry, for the majority of all of my life, really. Even when I was at Renaissance, academically, I was not doing well. I love the school because, once again, we were all like a family. And the teachers, for the most part, they tried to sympathize with what it was I was dealing with because they knew I would open up to some of my teachers and whatnot. But, at this point, I'm 12, 13, I'm becoming a young man. There are things that I'm seeing now blatantly right in my face, and the reality of it is that I can't change it. My homeboys, we're all after school and they're getting picked up from their dads. I'm not.
Yeah, and you feel that impact.
I felt that, my friends played basketball and football, and when I'm at the games, just to be there, you know what I mean, and support. Anytime somebody makes a 3-pointer or or made a play that was good or a touchdown, they go, "Dad, let's go,
Yeah.
let's go." And all, or even if it was my arena, whether it was somebody that can sing as well, you know what I mean, and his dad and his parents are there to support him.
You feel that?
I felt that,
Yeah.
and I guess I felt it even more because something in me felt like I was so deserving of it, and because I didn't get a chance to experience it, I kind of took it out on my schooling. I wasn't a bad kid in a sense to where, you never heard of Ronnie getting into a fight or having an issue with anybody or anything like that. But I took it out in a sense to where my focus just was not there. All I could think about, I couldn't even think about where I was going. All I could think about was where I was in the moment and how I was feeling. And I definitely had a family to support me through it. But, obviously at that time, it wasn't really cultural or popular for Black families to speak of, therapy and things like that. So it's not that I ever, just looked at my mom in a situation where, oh, you didn't try to. She definitely did. It was just, how that was back then. We tried to figure it out in our own way.
Yeah, and you keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked hand in hand, which is why I say I think God gave me the gift of music, because the crazy part about it is that if I was failing in anything else, I was surpassing in the music department.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so because I knew that was, that was my healing if I couldn't get it anywhere else. I knew if I grabbed a microphone and sang a song that I would feel fulfilled. So at some point, eventually I just started putting it into the music,
Yeah.
Yeah. And expressing it on stage, really.
I could definitely relate with you. In that time frame, I definitely had, I'll say, some academic dip. My family at that time, from me being young, my parents separated. So like my earliest memories is like that custody battle. You know what I mean? You're going from home to home.
And that's just as heartbreaking.
You know what I mean? And then, they're fighting. So it's like, you had this parent house, the police show up. They're taking you to this parent's house. Yeah. So it's like in that process and in that time frame, my focus really wasn't there. Right. I was more so, like you say, in love with music. So I would more so want to just listen to music all day. So I would walk around. Middle school, I had a CD book. Just all the CDs of songs, and I would just listen to music all day. That was my escape.
MP3s.
Yeah. Oh, it changed the game. Changed the game. When Zoom dropped that, I think it was like a 50 gigabytes, 60 gigabytes. Yeah. That was probably like the most memory any electronic device had for music. Oh my God. You was able to have every single album you could think of all in the palm of your hand.
You had to keep pressing next. Next.
Get to it. But it was an amazing experience. Getting up, you got to get on the bus, man. That's the process right there. You put your playlist together, you play your songs, get to your destination. Morning time, you waiting for breakfast. You sitting there playing music. You playing music on the way to class. You get out of class, you playing music. Music was with me. All day, know.
And I'm sure for our parents, it's not easy for them, but imagine what it is for us. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But at the same token, to give back to my mom and to give her flowers, I can imagine what it was for her. You know what I mean? Imagine being 23 and you just gave birth to this 11-day-old baby. Yeah. How do you eventually explain, when he asks, "Where's Dad?"
Yeah.
How do you explain that?
And you her first, right?
No, I'm the second oldest.
So second, so she's experienced what it's like to having somebody there, and then now having to do it on her own, and now it's 2 kids. So that's even more of a financial. You gotta
first with my mom and dad though. I'm sorry, let me clear that up. So my oldest brother is a little older than me.
Yeah.
My mother and his father were engaged.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. Years later, she met my dad. They got engaged and then married, and then I came about. So I am the first when it comes to their children, first and only. And ironically, my dad has my oldest brother, on his side.
Yeah.
But I was given my dad's name.
Okay.
So I'm Ronnie Jr.
Ah.
And so it's all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's all of those things where it's like, I have my brothers and their experience with dad and how cool dad was and this, that, and the third. And it's like, I don't know. It's something that I'm still, processing or just trying to figure out what is what was the purpose of it all, like what are the odds of so many things in my life.
Yeah.
But I know that in the midst of sometimes life and things getting in the way, I have to, and I believe that that's what my grandmother's foundation was for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to always know that in the midst of it all, God has a purpose and he's still so good in my life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I have to keep that always in mind, always keep that in my heart, because if you don't, and if some people that don't have that foundation or don't know what to lean back on, when you go through certain things like what I've been through, what you've been through.
Yeah.
Because I'm just one of many, you know what I mean? But maybe the story has to be told from both of us.
In order for someone that may be going through it currently to get some guidance from it.
And to know to keep pushing through.
Yeah. It's a light at the end of the road, honestly. Yeah. Like I remember nights laying in bed and just wishing that this was when I was living at my aunt's house, but just wishing that I had the ability to be in a situation where I was in my own home with both of my parents. And I can relate, like when you grow up and you go to your friend's house and his dad is, hey, there's dinner, getting prepared to go to work, but he's making sure that he's good, or picking him up from school, or, buying them things. And I'm knowing that my situation is solely because of what it is, you know what I mean? And there's nothing I could change about it. All I can do is just grin and bear it, do the best that I can, you know what I mean? And just try to find a way to cope with that, you know what I mean? Because it does leaves like a emptiness in you, and we tend to like find things to kind of fill it. So in yours, you were saying music. I know mine sometimes it would be basketball, music, or you're just playing video games. I was a big video game person. I was big on video games. You know what I mean? Like that was just, you get off, you playing, and it takes your mind off of it, and now you're not thinking about it.
Right, of course.
But it's a staple in a lot of young black men growing up. Yeah. Sad to say, I would like to think or feel like this generation is making that flip, because so many of us has gone through it that we're trying to undo what has been done to us in a form. So we're all putting our best foot forward, trying to make sure that we're being there for our child, whether we in with the mother of the child or not.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I shout out to all the fathers out there that's trying, that's in their kids' life, that's taking them to practice, that's taking them to singing lessons. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's big. That makes a major difference in the trajectory and for a child. And even for the ones that don't have it, that don't mean that you can't be what you want to be. Look at Ronnie right across from me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Look at you.
Yeah, look at me, man. You can do it for yourself. You just you look for those people, those elders. Yeah. I would say that look for those elders that positive, that's willing to fuel you with information, give you love, the love that you would normally get from both of your parents. Maybe you might be able to get it from an uncle. That's how I got mine's. I got it from my uncle and an auntie.
Even how I say my grandmother.
Or your grandmother.
So that it, and my mom remarried years later. But it just wasn't. It just wasn't all that. I guess I was looking for, considering what I was told that and I have a baby brother, and my stepfather is a great guy and was a great father to my baby brother. But you just know
it's different.
When it's a little different.
Yeah.
When it's like, that's your dad. It was crazy because I even used to call him dad, and somewhere around the transition of me getting older, it just went from dad to his name. You know what I mean? Because you can just feel you can feel it. You know what I mean? You don't want
you don't want to force it.
Nah,
it's something that's like when it comes natural, and it's just a difference. Like even with my mom, like she's dated after that, and I've there's been a guy that she was with for a long period of time, and he tried to call me son, and I was like, nah, I'm sorry, bro. Like, it just don't hit.
I feel you. I feel you.
But it's still love there, but it's just a different signature when it's like different. Your actual father.
It's different,
or mother.
it's different when you brought into the world and you feel like even as a child you have your idea of how it's supposed to be for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wanted my dad. You know, I wanted my mom.
Yeah.
You know, you wanted your parents.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To hopefully figure it out. You know what I mean? And I think that that's the wish. But like you said, definitely with this generation, for the most part, or at least if I can't speak for everybody, I speak for myself, but trying to, you know, just break that. You know what I'm saying? Trying to, you know, just continue to fight day by day to continue to be all that I can be. You know what I'm saying? For my son. You know what I mean? Who now carries my name.
Shout out to you. Shout out to you.
Yeah.
Shout out to you and your wonderful family, man.
Yeah, man.
So, and it's one of those things where I feel like it never fully goes away, but you learn and you are able to, you know, manage and build on that. And then it's like you just kind of flood that in your child. You kind of like, hey, I'm gonna overlove you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, you know what I mean?
I told, you know, it's crazy because I visioned having children since I was at New Renaissance Middle School. And for some of us, that may be a little different because maybe your circumstances were different. Maybe you're like, man, I was too busy being a kid. I wasn't even thinking about having kids. But for me, it was always I always wanted to be something to my kid that I never had the chance to experience.
Yeah.
You know? So for me, it was the joy of knowing that one day I'll be able to give that to, you know, a kid. It was almost like my way of, okay, although this was my loss, how can another child gain from it? How can I give back? But it's my own, you know?
Exactly.
And so now it's ritual for me. You know, I take my son to school every morning. You know, I pick him up from school every afternoon. And that's because these are the things that inspired me, even with the loss of my dad, because these are the things that my brother said, my brothers told me that my dad did with them. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it's
that's
like,
real.
I guess that's what it is. It's really just, you know, just me still being inspired by the many of great things that I've heard and pouring that into my son, but, you know, also doing it in my way. You know what I mean?
So I want to fast forward.
Yeah.
We gonna jump to the show that you was on, the 4. Right. So tell me, how did that opportunity come across? What was that experience for you, and what did you learn from the experience?
So the opportunity came about from a good friend of mine. His name is Jed. He's an R&B singer from South Florida as well. Shout out to him. Jed. And he's very cool. He's like family with Mario Winans. Okay. Mario Winans was one of the producers for the show. So I'm guessing that one day they were on the phone and they're like, you know, looking for some people to be on this show. If you know anybody, let me know. Yeah. I appreciate Jed because there are many singers that he is familiar with in South Florida, but he felt like, you know, if there's somebody that I would want to represent South Florida and I know would not make my face look crazy, and I know
stand on business,
loves music, and will give it 1,000%, it would be Ronnie. So he called me and he said, bro, I think I got an opportunity for you to be on a show. Would you be interested? I said, yeah, what show is it? He said, the 4. I said, okay, I think I've heard of it, because the crazy part about it is I'm really not, nor have I ever been really the kind of singer that sat down and watched those competition shows. Yeah. America's Got Talent, The Voice. I've never really sat down and watched them. I was always more so focused on what am I doing to develop as an artist. And so, but I figured it would be a great opportunity. So I sent off an audition tape. They viewed it. They called me, said, we would like for you to come to do the audition up close and personal with us. I said, okay, cool. When? They said tomorrow. Oh. They said, okay, cool. So, you know, I'm gathering my things together. I get to the airport. My anxiety is to the roof because
I can imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I'm from the South. I've never been to the West Coast, nor have I ever been on a plane by myself. Oh, there's one thing being on a plane with my mom, my brothers, and you feel that, you know, going back to feeling comfortable. And wow, it's just staying on topic, but it's amazing how a lot of things that got me out of my comfort zone was me having to basically do things on my own.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was very nervous, but I got there. I had to do the audition in front of Mario, in front of Lorianne Gibson. If you don't know who she is a legend in the game. In a sense of artist development, and many other producers for the show. I didn't know if I bombed or not. I wasn't really sure of how well I did.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think what got me on was my humbleness. I remember after doing the audition, they said, okay, thank you so much, and they were getting ready to escort me, and I went back to the microphone, and I said, can I just say something? They said, yes. I said, I just want to express how much this means to me. I am a young black man, and I'm from South Florida. We do not get opportunities like that. I get that there are people from coming all different walks of life that are here. Some of them are from California. Some of them flew in from New York. Some of them flew in from Atlanta, Tennessee, all of these musical places. But this really means a lot to me. And if I don't get the opportunity to come back, I just want to say thank y'all so much for even considering me.
That's fire. Yeah.
And I remember just how the room kind of shifted. And I left, came back home, and they called me maybe like 3 days later and said, we want you for the show. Yeah.
That's fire.
That's fire. I ended up going back for the show. And, you know, a lot of people don't realize how much work is put into preparing for the show. The many of hours of rehearsal with your vocal coach or stage production, the many hours of storytelling and B-roll, even the things that get cut out. Because the crazy part about it is a lot of what I am expressing to you right now about my life from the very beginning, I expressed it in the show, but they kind of put it their own way between cuts and edits. But so people don't realize that in particular. So I was in LA for like 2 weeks. I was in LA for like 2 weeks. So preparing for the show, the experience part of it. Now it's pretty much showtime. My producers, they came to me, which I want to say that they were not Mario Winans or Lorianne Gibson, but I had 2 producers that came to me, and they said to me, who do you want to challenge? Because remember, this show was all about challenging people. And so I said that I want to challenge James Graham. He was the guy, you know, of the show. You know, he was, you know, I would say if they have a term of America's sweetheart, he was that for the show. And so, you know me, I'm coming with that South Florida mentality.
Definitely.
You got to realize that it's just in us anyway. The thing about it is it's only really highlighted in the rap scene and in sports.
In sports,
football. But that's just in us as well. You know what I'm saying? All around the border. And so, yeah, I'm like, I want to challenge James. They said to me, if you're going to challenge James, please keep it as that and do not change it at the last minute because it will change up the flow of the show. Come to find out, there were a lot of people that would say this is who they wanted to go up against, but once they got on stage, they would change up.
They change up.
For smart reasons. They would eventually change their minds because they wanted to go for the weakest link.
Yeah, to try to stay on the show longer.
They try to stay on the show longer.
Ah, come on now. You can't dodge smoke.
The crazy part about it is that I somewhat developed that mentality because I started realizing what was happening behind the scenes. But I didn't want to let my producers down because this is me first time in Hollywood and I don't know how to play the game exactly. You know? So I'm thinking, oh, my producers are so cool. We're going to develop this relationship. No. And so, and the reason I started realizing that was because I realized that every song I wanted to do kept getting shut down. Every song. If I wanted to do a Michael Jackson song, there would be some white European lady running in the room that would hear me rehearsing it and would say, no, you can't do it because it doesn't clear for the show. If I wanted to do a Stevie Wonder song, no, you can't do it because it doesn't clear for the show. If I wanted to do a Prince song, any of our basically in a nutshell, our major black iconic artists, they would not let me do certain songs, especially songs that showcased the vocal ability.
Show that range.
Right. So at that point, I'm like, but James is doing he's doing Michael Jackson songs. I haven't heard anybody tell him that
He
they
can't
wouldn't
do
clear
it.
for him. Or Prince, he did a Prince song. He did a Michael song. He did a Stevie song. He did a lot of, if you really were a fan of the show and paid attention to the show, that basically every time he performed, they gave him a iconic classic
Yeah.
to perform. At that point, I kind of just realized something was up. You know what I mean? And so I'm just thankful that I spiritually still felt connected within myself and with God, you know, a higher power, to where I wasn't naive to certain things that I saw. And so, all right, cool. Which this artist, which is performing Super Bowl today, Usher, who is iconic as well.
Shout out to Usher.
Yeah, shouts out to the game.
Shout out to him.
He, the option of doing You Don't Have to Call came about.
Ooh.
So I said, okay, cool. I guess I'll do it. At the same token, as great as this song is, as great as I have sang and performed it all around the house in my living room, I've never did it
Out,
you know,
live and stage.
So I didn't really feel like I had the time to get comfortable with the song, to try to find how can I make it my own. But nonetheless, they were cool with me doing that. And then they were cool with me doing Mario, Let Me Love You.
Classic.
Yeah. So Showtime. And I could recall, you know, once again, the anxiety when you're being told that you have over 20 million people watching the show. And on top of that, the pressure, because as soon as the stage opens up, you got Meghan Trainor, you got DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
And then you have Diddy there.
Tough crowd.
Tough crowd.
Yeah.
And then you have Adam Blackstone, you know, who's the musical director.
Yeah.
He does pretty much everything. So he may do the Super Bowl today with Usher, because he did it last year with Rihanna, Justin Timberlake, the list goes on.
Yeah.
And so I did the first song, You Don't Have to Call. I wasn't really sure because I knew my nerves had got me really bad. You know, the show was set up to where if you got 3 blues from the judges, you can move on to the next thing, next, you know, performance. And I got the 3 blues. I'm like, okay, cool. James does Boys to Men. What song was that? On One Bended Knee or Bended Knee. And I can tell he was a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was like, why would he seem so uncomfortable? I did Let Me Love You after that. At that point, I was super comfortable with Let Me Love You, though.
Yeah.
I felt like I definitely, you know, was in my bag with Let Me Love You.
Them jitters done came out for that one, yeah.
I mean, because I'm also competitive. So let's just keep it a buck. You know what I mean? If I'm seeing someone and I see that I was nervous, but maybe I'm making you a bit nervous.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's just something going on where I can tell that you're not really in your, you know, comfort zone as well. I got to come with everything.
So it's like finding a chink in the armor. And it's like, oh, there's a little weak spot right there. Oh,
Absolutely.
okay, I got to go right at
Of
that
course.
spot.
It's like boxing.
Mm-hmm.
You think if Ali doesn't realize that, okay, I kind of hit a nerve.
Yeah.
And that's the spot.
Or that shoulder is messed up. Yeah. I done got it.
I got to keep hitting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, you know, obviously it's TV and a lot of things get edited out and whatnot, but I'll never forget standing there with James after I did Let Me Love You. A lot of people don't know that we really had a brotherly moment, you know, like clapped each other up, came in with the hug, and he told me, he said, bro, you are fucking amazing. He told me, he said, I think I'm done. I think I'm done. And so I said, nah, man, you know, this is, once again, it's competitive, but it's all love at the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
I said, nah, man, you did amazing. You know what I'm saying? Despite what I was able to pick up, you still did amazing. And he said I wasn't comfortable with the song because I was prepared to do something else. But they gave me this song literally less than 24 hours to learn and to do. He didn't tell me why, but I knew why. I said, oh, because they had already told him, this black kid from Miami is here. And if you got away with certain episodes prior to him, because it just didn't add up, this kid can sing.
He's gonna get you.
He's a performer. And he's not playing.
Yeah.
So what other way to come than with an iconic black record like Boys to Men on Bended Knee,
Yeah.
you know? And so I kind of just started picking it up, you know? At that point, when he told me that, I was already content with whatever the decision was, which is why there's a little part where the screen splits and there's me and then there's him and it's getting ready to say the winner of this challenge is.
Yeah.
His face is down and he's like squinting like, oh damn, who's
This
he
is
gonna? Yeah, this is it. Like,
Yeah.
let me just go back to the hotel and pack my bags. No, I had this crazy ass look on my face and I was looking at the screen and I was just smiling because I was looking at the teleprompter.
Yeah.
And I saw when it said, before Fergie said it, I saw when they said his name, I was already in a space of serenity.
Yeah.
I was in a space of serenity.
Serenity, okay.
Because I had already felt like within myself, I won.
Yeah, you did what you did.
Yeah. I did what I needed to do.
As they say, you did your dollar. Yeah.
And so I bring up this long story. I'm long-winded in general. So
you good,
please
man.
forgive
This
me,
is perfect for podcasts.
Yeah. So I bring up that story pretty much to say the experience taught me a lot. It taught me that anything is possible. It taught me that, it taught me to continue to go for my dreams. But it also taught me that, sometimes Hollywood is Hollywood.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I couldn't understand why Jed just kept saying, bro. And Jed didn't know this, but his thought process for it was already just get the exposure.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, man, I want to win. But at some point, I realized, eventually what it meant to be able to gather that kind of exposure and what can you do with it. But because I'm from South Florida, because I don't have the team, because I didn't really have the, people that came before me that can be like, you need to stay in LA while you're, I didn't have that. I came back home. And by coming back home, there's really no outlets.
Yeah, at that time,
I may get, and I think I'm thankful for them, Jazz in the Gardens, which I've been blessed to perform Jazz in the Gardens twice. I've done the Overtown Music Fest twice, performed in front of thousands of people. Shouts out to our Cox Media Group family here, where I've done the 99 Jams and Hot 105 concerts.
Shout out to them.
Many of things that I've done, but when those things only come around once a year, and it's very political to where, you're not really able to rub shoulders and continue to develop those relationships with the artists that are coming in town for the shows. The consistency is not there.
Yeah.
And so I find myself now, and on top of that, I'm not familiar with so many people telling me about reassuring me of the insecurities that I already had. At the end of the day, if I did feel like I was a good singer, now I got to look at the internet with people telling me that I'm not.
Yeah.
And it's not because that's facts.
No, it's just
but it's because this is just the era of the show and whoever people root for. And because this guy has been on the show for the past 10 episodes, you all have had time to fall in love with him.
Yeah, so they have their own just emotional attachment to that person, not necessarily for their talent.
I've only done one episode. What I am thankful for is that with that one episode, I was able to really connect with people. There were people that really were rooting for me, whether it was back at home or people that I did not know.
Yeah.
And the good will always outweigh the bad. But the problem is when we sit there and we pay attention or we give the attention to the bad, that's what we mess up. And I did that. If I already felt like I wasn't the ideal R&B looking singer like Chris Brown or Usher or Michael Jackson or all those that came before me that I idolized.
Yeah.
Now I'm being reassured by the internet. Oh, he's not eye candy. Oh, he's this, he's that, and this, that, and the third. And a lot of me reading that, and I had to realize eventually that was the trick of the enemy to beat me down. I don't know anybody from a can of paint, and what I should have done in that moment, and let us use this moment to encourage anybody watching that wants to sing, that wants to be anything, you know what I mean, to continue to believe in yourself, because people, and not all people, but people will love you to hate you to love you again.
That's facts.
Or you have people that are so you know, just dealing with their own life issues and problems that they have not dealt with, that when they see somebody else going for their dreams,
Their
you know,
ideas
when
to
they
shoot
see
it down.
their ideas to shoot it down, I didn't realize it then, but I have to remind myself now that while I'm posting or while I am on live television
Mm-hmm.
doing something that I was destined to do, because God gave it to me, you didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was destined to do, you're literally behind your phone or on a computer and you know,
Yeah.
twittering away
Mhm.
or whatever the case may be, and you still talking about me
That's
and
facts.
and what it is that I'm trying to pursue. But I didn't see it at the time. So I went into a very bad depression.
Mm. So let me ask you.
Sorry.
No. It's I understand because we've been through a lot of traumatic things
Yeah.
from the beginning, and I had this question. I was like, you know what? I want to ask you this because I've never asked the artist this before.
Okay.
So, what was the pandemic for you? The COVID pandemic for you as an artist? What was that?
It was already the depression because I felt like it was the depression because I felt like I already wasn't sure of what the next thing was going to be for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to figure that out. I did the 4 in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So in the midst of trying to figure that out, don't get me wrong, I had good days. I had good moments.
Yeah.
As a human being, I was you know, in a, you know, it was I'm sorry.
No, you gotta take your time.
It was let me just say this. It was a weird space.
Mm-hmm.
I had good moments, and then I also had moments that didn't feel so good.
Yeah.
And so now 2019 comes and I find out that I'm getting ready to be a dad.
Mm.
So in the midst of trying to figure all of this out, I felt like, okay, cool, here comes my blessing. You
Yeah.
know? And which is getting the opportunity to be a dad.
Mm-hmm.
And but this is the thing. My son is due in April of 2020.
Oh, right when this shut down.
Height of COVID.
Yeah.
Well, the very beginning of when everything was shutting down.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't really sure of what was going to happen. But I did know that I'm trying to figure out what's going on with me musically. But
Yeah.
maybe this is not the time for it. Maybe I need to just stay focused on all that I need to educate myself on, prepare myself for in terms of fatherhood.
Yeah.
You know? And it's one thing to say, oh, as a family, but when you have to be that man to teach this kid or this baby one day how to be a man, or you're still trying to figure that out yourself, there's a lot that comes, along with that. I'm sorry.
And then you don't have that guidance in the sense of like
Don't have
a dad to even direct you on how to be the dad. You know what I mean? For the first time.
I'm thankful for my uncles.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for the father figures that have been around me, but does not add up to what I really desired.
Yeah.
So I'm still dealing with it, because I want to be able to pick up the phone and call my dad
Mm-hmm.
so that I can get advice from my dad on how to be a dad,
Yeah.
That's because everybody's going to have different opinions, but who not to, really value their opinion more than your biological father.
Yeah.
Going back to, once again, especially when you've heard so many great things.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot going on in that moment. I decide that I want to name my son Ronnie the Third, and it's crazy because I think of my dad and I think of the section where he's buried in the cemetery,
Mm-hmm.
and the section is called the Holy Trinity,
Mm-hmm.
which represents the number 3 as well.
Yeah.
My mom was 23 when she gave birth to me, but my father was 27.
Okay.
I was 27 when I conceived my son as well.
Full circle.
And so that was just some of the things that were just like, so like, what are the odds? You know what I mean? Like, this is, it's not a coincidence, but it's a coincidence. What am I supposed to learn from this? Because I'm taking it in a way to where it's not like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. Yeah, I mean, it happens. No, this is what really are the odds. You know what I mean? And the story goes much deeper than that, but it was just, I was so in my head about everything. Even around this time, I even ended up moving into the house that my father left for me at 27. So I conceived my son in the same room that I was conceived in. I tried to be a dad many of times and it did not work. But then it ended up happening in the same room that I was conceived in.
Yeah.
I went back in the house, I flipped it, fixed it all up, the whole nine like that at the time. And my mom calls me. And before I even knew I was going to be a dad, she told me I was going to be a dad. She said, your dad came to me in a dream holding a baby in the house. And I kept asking him, who is this? Who's this baby? Who does the baby belong to? And he would never answer me. He just walked out the back door in a nice white cloud gleam. And so when I called my mom to tell her that I was getting ready to be a dad, she said, well, how far is she? I said, she's 4 weeks now. So we're only like a month. She said, yeah, that was like a month ago when I told you this. And I calculated it myself. I said, you did. You told me that a month ago.
That is crazy.
So, you know, and I'm saying all this to say on my first podcast conversation.
Yeah.
I'm saying all this to say, imagine all of this that you have to intake when there's so much mystery. You know, there's so much mystery.
Yeah.
And my son is born. Well, prior to that, we actually didn't know we were getting ready to lose him because they forced the water to break, right? And when they did that, I guess the option for pushing was no longer because my son's umbilical cord was wrapped around him
neck
3 times.
Oh, God.
So the heartbeat was going down so fast.
Yeah.
It became immediate surgery. And so I'm freaking out because once again, height of COVID, I don't have my mom here with me. I don't have her mom here with me.
Yeah.
Neither our families are here.
Yeah, it's only just y'all
two. It's just
two.
us two. So, you know, in the midst of her being scared, I'm scared, but I have to remain strong because somebody has to show some symbolism of strength.
Yeah.
But bro, when they took her through those doors and closed them and told me I couldn't go in yet,
yeah,
that was so hard for me.
That's tough.
That was so hard for me because I'm still dealing with the mystery, but still I'm in a space now where I am dealing with the past, the present, and now I'm worried about the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they called me in and I was able to see my son when they got him out. And man, what an experience. What an experience. That was the greatest day of my life. The greatest day of my life. But now it's going home and trying to figure out, okay, how do I
pick up everything?
How do I really do this?
Yeah.
But how do I balance this? How do I balance my career? How do I balance being with my family? How do I balance all of these things? Then the panic attack started. I never had a panic attack before. So I actually thought I was dying.
Yeah.
I thought I was dying. And we called the ambulance. They came. And the guy's telling me, you're having an anxiety attack, but I wasn't hearing it. I just wanted to go to the hospital. From that moment to about for 7 months, maybe even eight months straight, I was going to the hospital at least twice a month.
Off of anxiety and panic attacks.
Panic attacks. Because I'm still dealing with the mystery.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, if my dad was taken away from me at 27, am I going to be taken away from my kid? There are too many coincidences. There's so much of a coincidence.
Yeah.
You know? So And although I didn't live the lifestyle that my dad lived, you know,
Yeah.
I'm still dealing with, you know, what is now with this happening. I realize that my purpose is so much more than music. So what is it, you know? And that's what I was really just trying to figure out. Thankfully, I spoke to a Black doctor, and not just my primary physician that I eventually got,
Yeah.
but a Black doctor that was in the hospital. And he told me, he said, man, that was the first time I seen him, by the way, too. And, you know, of course, it's an emergency room. So Caucasian doctors, Arabian doctors, Asian doctors, everybody, they're going to do their job. But this Black doctor came in and he said, he closed the curtains. He said, young brother, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're going to develop an issue if you keep coming in here trying to get CAT scans, doing the EKGs, brain MRI scans, all of these things. I was visiting cardiologists, all of these things. The anxiety was so real.
Yeah.
He said, you're good. And I'm here to tell you that you're good. And I challenge you to tell yourself every day that you're good. This is the last, and that was the last time that I've been to the hospital. It's been maybe a year strong. And between that time and now, I've seen the light, you know, just enjoying, trying for the most part, you know, every day, because there's going to be challenges and things like that, but enjoying and smelling, you know, the roses and breathing in the outside air and just giving gratitude more for what I have, and not just the things that I desire, but also just continuing to look at my life and my past and my story, which has built me, you know, and learning to take all of the positive and all of the strength from it so I can continue to pour that into my son.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to my family. So, and then at some point, eventually, here goes, you know, getting back into the music. Getting back into the music.
I love that. COVID was one hell of a time for people.
Yeah.
It was a challenge on a mental scale, and I feel like with black people, we don't normally look at that side of, you know, life and try to indulge in that. We usually pick up everything and just keep going. Keep going. You strong. Oh, mental health? Nah. Mental health.
Absolutely.
You strong. You black. You a man. You supposed to keep going. And then you got to be strong for other people at the same time. So a lot of times we, you know, put it on the back burner, put it behind us and just keep going forward. But I felt like when COVID happened, it kind of made you deal with those things.
Yeah.
It forced people to look in the mirror and see, do you really like what you see? Or it made you face some of those things that you, maybe childhood trauma, things that you dealt with in the past that you kept putting behind you, that now you have no choice but to face it. And that is one of the things. Around that time, I was dealing with some stuff too.
Yeah.
I went through my share of, to the point where I even talked to a psychic. Like, I was like, you know, let me
like
step.
a palm reader or a psychic?
Like not a palm reader, but a psychic. I wanted to step out of my element because, you know, of course, we go to church.
To do that, but I was
you
too
know,
scared.
so that was my thing, right? But it wasn't until I started.
Goes back to our culture, though.
Yeah. So I started having certain dreams, and there was certain things going on in my dreams that I've never had before. And me, like, when I dream, is very vivid and deep, and to the point where it feels like it's happening, like, to me full time, like right there. And so I talked to my mom. My mom was like, oh, you know, why don't you talk to this psychic? And, you know, I talked to her, and it was interesting because it's like you talking to someone that, like, you don't know, it's a stranger, but it's like you're more trying to see if they're really who they are,
right,
before you really open up to who you are.
And I think that's really where just kind of the fear of it comes from. It's like, I don't know you. I don't really know if you're, you know, gonna hit the mark.
Yeah.
If you don't hit the mark of what it is that I see for myself.
So you wait for certain things. You wait for certain key things for them to say to be like, oh no, you're right about that. You're like, yeah, oh wait, okay, so you might be onto something. And we had a great conversation, and at the end, she told me something that I didn't even realize. She was like, you didn't really want your future read or your psychic or anything. You just wanted to talk to somebody. And
She
I'm
said
like,
that?
yeah. And I'm just like, it took me, like, it made me realize, like, no, you actually do need to talk to someone.
Yeah.
Because around that time, COVID is like, everybody's isolated.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're by yourself a lot. I was still working at that time, so I was still going out and having to do things, but it's
Right.
like, it wasn't, you felt the difference regardless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And at that time, I was living by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I was spent a lot of time by myself. And when you by yourself a lot, especially if you're like an overthinker or someone that think deep a lot,
Right.
well, you tend to judge yourself harsh.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So I talked
Critical.
to
Very critical.
I talked to a psychiatrist. This was not for me, but it was just in podcasting, it was just small talking with him,
Mm-hmm.
and he was saying that happens, like when people were by themselves a lot, that they were being more harsh on themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what was bringing people down, and they were dealing with things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like around that time, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about what it means to be able to, deal with the hurdles, because we facing hurdles every day. You know what I
Right.
mean? Life going life.
Right.
You know what I mean? And with music, it's really taking that energy and being able to create. You know what I mean? Whether sometimes some people that can't create when they're going through it, some people can, but just more so maintaining a career and being able to keep producing music and keeping it at a high quality. And that's one of the things I want to give you credit on also, is your quality in music.
Oh, thank you.
Very high, rich quality music, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, like I told you before, the layering, how you doing your vocals and stuff like that, sounds amazing.
Studying.
Yeah.
I used to, and I'm gonna credit my grandma on this, because although she let my hand go with certain things, she still supported.
Yeah.
So like, she would buy me like Michael Jackson CDs and DVDs. She would buy me, Usher on tour. She would buy me certain things. Even now on Netflix, they have this documentary called The Biggest Night in Pop, which is
I did see that.
the making of We Are the World.
Yeah, okay,
I
yeah.
had that since I was 13.
For real?
Not the exact, because they have like new clips and unseen footage.
Yeah.
But I have the original documentary from the making of We Are the World from like 1984.
Like Michael Jackson and
My
all that.
grandmother gave that to me. So I would watch things like this to see how the creative process was going.
Yeah.
If my grandmother was so churchy and was, oh, God
Yeah.
is, I'd be like, okay, how can I learn how to, do different things? So I would listen to the way that Michael Jackson carried a record. I would listen to the way Stevie, Marvin, Whitney, Anita, certain people carried a record. Even with my falsetto, I didn't always have that. So I started listening to more Prince. I started listening to more Eric Benet, Maxwell,
Yeah.
El DeBarge, especially Bobby DeBarge, his brother. I listened to a lot of the greats because I knew I wanted to be great.
Yeah.
I'm still a work in progress, but I knew that I wanted to be great.
Student of the game. Student of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to be that. And a lot of the times, especially in our generation, we miss the steps. You can't cheat the game.
No.
You know what I'm saying? You really can't. And that's why a lot of the times people can sing so well online. And at the end of the day, everybody has their niche.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But some people can sing so well online, but if you put them in front of a crowd of people, they may not know how to, really interact with the audience.
Yeah.
Or you may have someone that, sounds really good in the studio, but when it comes down to vocal development and you take away the auto-tune, you take away all of the effects that the studio brings.
Yeah.
They may not sound as good. That's why you got a lot of people walking out of shows because they feel like, oh, that person doesn't. You haven't really went through the process. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, even though I have not hit the mountain peak yet, I'm thankful that I have went through a lot of the process. That people try to cut corners. I've sung at funerals and touched people. I've sung on television and touched people. I've sung in the stadium and touched people. I've sung at Jazz in the Gardens and touched people. Online, touching people.
Yeah.
Ran into someone yesterday getting some breakfast, and mama knows me, or elderly lady. I just love your voice, and today's my birthday.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Sung happy birthday to her right then and there on the spot. No rehearsal, no anything.
Yeah.
So I mean, at the end of the day, I get it, but at the same token, I don't give myself excuses, so I guess I can't give it to anyone else. I couldn't afford a vocal coach. I couldn't afford all of those things. Sometimes it's more so just how bad do you really want it? Everybody didn't have a pops to teach them how to do a layup, but some of us watched Kobe. Some of us watched Michael. You know what I'm saying?
Seen that greatness
and just knew that you wanted to follow in that path. You know what I mean? Which gets to another part, which kind of made it depressing. I've always been about music. So now coming back to South Florida, imagine me trying to play something that has the ability to touch people, but all of the powers that may be, if I play it for them, now they're like, it's cool.
Yeah.
But we need a club record.
Yeah,
because
they're looking
it's
for that.
Miami, because it's South Florida. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, is there not a way to where even if you feel like it does not work in this market, it can work somewhere
in this
else?
market, yeah.
Because that actually helped me see the light as well. A lot of the newer artists that I didn't tap into until recently. I was thankful to run into Alex Isley. I was thankful to run into Victoria Monet. I was thankful to run into Lucky Days Music because they reassured me that it's still alive and well and it's possible. Samara Joy, you know what I mean? Just won best new artist, and she's a jazz artist last year at the Grammys. Victoria Monet, best new artist this year, and she's an R&B artist. And this is the Grammys this year. And these are Black people.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, shouts out to them. Because despite the greats that have helped groom me into who I have become and continuing to be, it's also a lot of the new artists that reassured me that it's possible for those that want to remain musical, for those that want to remain, you know, a classic, those that want to have music of substance. Because I didn't get that home, you know. Even with my first record, you know, that played, Would You Mind, was one of my records down here, that 99 Jams and Hot 105. It was in heavy rotation.
Yeah.
I was thankful for the radio station and Cedric Hollywood for, you know, playing the record because, and people actually, and the crazy part about it is, I'm not dimming my light, but I honestly feel like another reason why it got so much success as far as home is concerned is because nobody knew that it was me.
They just heard the vocals and they heard the voice and the.
You know how many people thought I was Tevin Campbell that came back out with a new record? So many people thought I was Mario, came out with a new record. Yeah. So, I mean, once people caught on to it was me, you know, at that point it's on the radio now. So, hey, Ronnie's on the radio. You know, it becomes a big deal. But prior to that, I can imagine if I would have tried to present that record to the right people, but maybe just trying to put it in the wrong hands that won't understand the vision, it would have been more so trying to push me into what was already popping at that time.
Yeah.
Rich nigga, won't you? Nigga can't do nothing for you.
Yeah.
Like, it would have because we that's kind of the thing, you know, especially when people don't really know the formula. It's always trying to figure out how can we get you to go more this lane. So right after that, now it's trying to make me have this Bryson Tiller sound and trying to whatever it was that was the wave. And it's like, no, you are the wave.
Yeah, instead of letting you just be you. Yeah.
Just be you.
They want to throw you into a mold or a certain wave of sound that seem to be trending right now. And like, nah, let's just put you over here. But no, this.
So when I tell you all of the jabs, the uppercuts, the ups, the downs, my past, my personal life story, but also how that ties into my musical story, my purpose, fatherhood, all of these things that literally have just
tied into each other. For me.
And I don't know if it has ever gotten this deep with anybody else on the singing tip that has come here on
this is different. This one hit different.
But another reason why I like to say it is because I'm going to say this. I do feel like to a degree I have been the poster kid in a sense, or the poster guy in a sense of just the things that I have been blessed to do in between. Because the crazy part about it is even with everything that I'm saying right now, a lot of my peers still have not been blessed to do it. And I want to see them do it. I want to see Marcel do Jazz in the Gardens one year. I want to see Jay Howard, you know, get a hit record on the radio. I want to see Levi, Trey Black, Jedediah, Mara Mo, and so many, Ed Rawls, and so many. There's a lot of great singers down here, including the females. Shouts out to the amazing female, you know, talent that is down here that can sing. Yeah. And I want to see everybody get those opportunities. But even with all of that being said, I tell my story because it is literally just the favor of God, because I've never had a team. I've never had, black and white management. I've never had the rollout plan. I've never had any of these things. Anything that has ever happened for me, it was always literally because I showed up, and when I showed up, I let my light shine. And I just had to revert back to that, because sometimes we can get so blinded. Sometimes we can get so caught up in the lifestyle of Hollywood and what it is that we want and what we seek. And we really have to just get back to the foundation of just using what it is that I've been given. Because at the end of the day, if it never happened for me, would I still do it? Absolutely. I sing all day long. I sing when I wake up. I sing when I'm washing my dishes. I sing when I'm taking my son to school. I sing when I'm handling my duties. I sing, obviously, when I'm doing my work. I sing when I'm in the shower. I sing before I go to bed. I am always using my gift.
It's part of your life.
It
is your life. Yeah. That's a better way to say it.
It is.
It's a better way to say it.
I wouldn't have it any other way. So I say all that to say I am just like, because once again, somewhat feeling like people feel like I have been the poster guy because, radio, television, this show, that show, and all. Even now with what's going on with me with the internet, you know what I'm saying? I want people to know that it's literally because every time I allowed myself to just keep fighting, keep fighting. And I had to remind myself to keep fighting after I went through that little phase or that phase in my life.
Yeah.
And so now at this point, I'm like, okay, what do I do now? I see between 2018 and now, a lot has changed. Content is the it thing. Everybody's online. Everybody's singing online. Everybody has a but there are a lot of people that are doing podcasts now, and it's
different outlets and different
even
things.
YouTube. You got reaction channels. You got so many things. Like, how do I fit in this? Oh my God, I got to get a camera. I got to get I got to get this. I got to get that. And I heard something speak to me and said, you're overdue for a lot of things because you overthink everything. Like,
gotta. Oh my God.
And it spoke to me.
Yeah.
So I already had the studio equipment, very small setup at the house. Shouts out to my producer, Neri. He helped me get my stuff together. And I don't know how to record myself, but I know the basics of how to just get through. And I started doing a little something at the house. So literally, I set up my video camera in my backyard where there's like a tree with a bunch of bushes and stuff.
Nice little scenery.
I do my first video. It was a cover of At Your Best. We know the Aaliyah version, but it's originally from the Isley Brothers. And, I hit my little 500 likes. I was content.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, they know I'm still
I found
breathing.
something.
I mean, in a sense, because it's not to do that on the first video. Let's just be honest. I don't care about the accomplishments and all that. When you've been on ice, and you're basically putting that out as the first video to remind people, aside from the show, aside from when it's always a major platform, that I'm still breathing, and I can get 500 people to tell me you sound good.
Yeah, this is dope.
It's a blessing. You know what I mean? And I don't take it for granted. It gave me enough courage to do the second one. So my second video came about from a show that I had did at a spot that so heartbreaking they shut it down recently. It's called Ginger Bay Cafe.
Okay.
And it was in Hollywood, Florida. And this was a live spot. It was so sexy. It was so just where you would like to go for a space of serenity, peace, have a good time. You got a date. You don't have a date. Maybe you'll find one later on that night. It was definitely the Love Jones for me of South Florida. It really was. And so I had a show there with a band. Shouts out to Melodic Vibrations and all of the musicians that are in the band. My cousin Mickey accommodated that night on keyboard. Duran is on drums and Josh is on bass. And I normally like to do Lovers and Friends anyway as a tribute when I do my sets anyway, right? But this time around we're doing Lovers and Friends. I love to like mash up certain songs that I'll do with it. So the crowd they're enjoying it. They're going crazy. And then out of nowhere, for whatever reason, I just start singing Coco Jones' I See You on top of Lovers and Friends. And everybody's going crazy. I'm hearing them like, what?
Yeah.
What? So everybody's going crazy. And I go home. The next morning I wake up, I'm still on the drilling from the show. But I look at the playback footage on my phone and I'm like,
so good.
Damn, this was pretty dope. Like, maybe I should try to go in my room and try to cut it real quick. And so I do the setup outside, and I actually cut it once I realized, oh, okay, this could work. It, not just for the live, but it works even with the beat.
Yeah.
So I go in my backyard, I cut it, I put it out. I release it, and same thing. Somewhere between 400 or 500 something likes that night. Still,
it's like, man, I just hit twice.
Thank y'all.
Back to back.
I'm super grateful. Thank y'all. And the next day, I go up to Palm Beach because one part of my story that I didn't tell you, which is also something that I'm dealing with on a daily basis, is right before I did the 4, maybe like a week before, my grandmother had a stroke.
Oh.
And she was already and still is battling breast cancer.
Oh, okay.
And then the reason, not just for the retirement for Palm Beach with my mom, because of not just the move for Palm Beach because of retirement, but because my mom was diagnosed with lupus.
Oh my God. So you getting hit with everything at the same time. So
the next day I go up there to visit my mom and my grandmother. Because ever since the stroke, my mom is like, I want my mom to live with me, make sure she's okay.
Yeah.
So I go up there to visit them. I'm with my baby brother, and I'm paying attention to my notifications, and I'm like, yo, like, we just 20,000 views on this video.
Yeah.
I'm getting excited. I'm like, I've never had views like
like 20,000. Yeah.
It's one thing for television, knowing that 20 million people are here, or you're at a show and 70,000 are there.
Because you can't really see it here. Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, 20,000. 5 minutes later, refresh it, 50,000. 5 minutes later, refresh it, 80,000. 5 minutes later, refresh it, 100,000. I looked at my little brother when it hit 100,000. I said, I think we're going viral. And so he laughs, and I'm like, this is crazy. And so literally, as the days kept going by, I just basically accepted that it was going viral because everything just started changing. But only on my Instagram. I tried to post it on my TikTok, but they wouldn't let me. But then another guy posted it on his TikTok, and it went viral on his. So now you have people looking for me on his, and I'm like literally on TikTok
trying
to
tag everybody. Hey, it's me. Right. I'm right here.
It's crazy. I'm like, damn, TikTok, like, how you gonna try me like that? Like, not even. But nonetheless, it was cool because the guy reached out, and it was all, respectful and whatnot. And he also helped me with letting people know, hey, it's not me. This is the guy. So I appreciated him for that.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, shouts out to him. And so then people are asking for a full version. Well, I told myself that I didn't want to overthink my content, so I'm not going to do full songs. I'm just going to do a verse, a chorus, and that's it. But now people are asking for a full version. Even my producer told me not to do it. He's like, nah, man, don't do it, man. Let's just stay focused, keep moving forward. And so I said, okay, I get it. Everybody's going to have an opinion, and I know that his opinion is not coming from a place of just not wanting to see me grow, because if I grow, it allows our situation.
Yeah, everybody grows, yeah.
Right. So, but I said if I was with a label right now, or if I was the head of a label, and because I'm such a student, if I was at Motown and Berry Gordy was my boss, if I was at Epic and L.A. Reid is my chairman, if I was with Bad Boy and Diddy is my boss, what would they tell me to do? If the people have spoken, get back in the studio.
Go ahead and deliver.
And cut a full version.
Yeah.
So I went to my boy's spot, Tro. Shouts out to Tro. He has Untitled Miami Studio.
Shout out to him.
And I explained to him that I already did the first version, which was getting ready to hit 1 million at this point on my YouTube, 1 million views.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I think by the time it hits 1 million, I'll be done with the full version. Did the full version inside the crib. Shouts out to my Uncle Jay. I did it at his spot.
Shout out to Uncle Jay.
And I shot it there. And at this point, my whole focus is not just giving the people what they want for a full version, but also making sure that I am allowing people to connect with me on all my other platforms. Because if I'm not going to post the full version on Instagram, or what am I going to say, part 2? No.
Yeah.
Direct everybody to my YouTube channel so that can continue to grow. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
promoted as well on my Instagram, which every time I posted, when I did debut, the full version was ready. Everybody went crazy.
Oh, they went crazy.
On my
They got
Instagram.
to. Yeah, we getting the full one.
I think it hit like 50,000 views on YouTube the first day. As a matter of fact, when I was already searching up my name, Lovers and Friends, I See You, Something About Your Hands on My Body, all of these things were already coming about on the search engine for YouTube. And there was nothing on
Trending
there.
search title, so if they type this, you coming
up. They
up.
were already searching it. So the day that I posted that it hit 1 million views was the day that I released the full version. So it's like, I don't even know how to roll out, but I'm just getting the idea of it on my own. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a team. I don't have a marketer. I don't have a manager. I don't have anybody to help me figure this out.
Yeah.
I have to figure it out. So the day I posted it hit 1 million, which obviously I know that would be a hype. Congratulations. I was a part of that million, you know, kind of thing. And I'm so thankful for the people. And I posted full version. From there, it just
went a wildfire.
It just continued to grow. So it just hit 2.2 million.
Shout out to you.
On YouTube. Thank you. 1.9 on Instagram. And basically has went viral on every platform. In fact, now it's actually going viral on my TikTok right now.
Oh.
So that's 6 months later.
Yeah.
So that's just like on some just never give up. You just never know. You may feel like, oh, I posted this, then it didn't crack. Because I'm like, so when the guy posted it on his TikTok, I'm like, oh, no. So I tried to go back and post it on mine. And I did. And this particular time, I got smart with it. So to prevent the copyright situation, I added like thunder rain sounds underneath, thinking that maybe it'll knock it off the, you know, just the whatever the sync is of it. And I guess it worked because I was able to post it, but it did not do what it did on his. But now it's doing what it did on his, on mine, yours. And even more. You see what I'm saying? So
maybe because of that title too that you used to kind of like get around that might have helped also.
Maybe so. Or this particular video, I did have 2 million written on the video.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that was something as well, enough to get people to say, what is 2 million
what's 2
about?
million? Yeah.
Because anytime you see a large number, it's always like, what is this about?
Yeah.
So, but it worked itself out.
Smart. I love that. And it's signs. It's just like how you were saying before with the birth of your child and when your dad had you. It's like you'll see certain things. You know when you're walking in your path because things will happen for you.
Yeah.
Without it having to be forced or you having to beg anybody to do anything for you. It's just going to happen. Yeah, and then you know, okay, keep walking in this direction. This is where I'm supposed to go.
And as much as I've had my moments of feeling bitter, you know what I mean? Or just feeling like, why is such and such given this opportunity and I haven't been given the opportunity? And I hate to complain, compete, and compare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But sometimes when you feel like you've put in so much work in and then there's someone that may not have, but you're just going to allow them to surpass those that really have put the work in, it can become frustrating. You know what I mean? And so, but I'm thankful that God, I am so thankful that God really, I think what it was, has given me the time, has given me the ability to see just how powerful I am. Not to be on my own forever.
Yeah.
But to see just what I possess and what I'm capable of before we just allow so many different things to come into play. Before you walk in a situation and there's just you.
Yeah.
When it's just you, there's no leverage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you're walking in a situation where you may have to sign on a dotted line. Who knows if you'll ever be exposed, because now we have to build you up. We have to build that leverage. What if it works? What if it doesn't? They don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, what if you're shelved? What if you're collecting dust? What all of these things that were just the complete opposite of what it was that you saw for yourself. And how important it is. And I didn't see it at first, but now obviously I see it. Because with the numbers and just everything that has changed, you know, like gaining thousands of subscribers now on my YouTube channel, gaining thousands of followers on I wasn't even on TikTok like that. Like, just thousands on my TikTok now, thousands on my Instagram, thousands on my Facebook, even Facebook. Like, I'm even bringing that up, but just showing how it's just bringing it all back to
full circle.
Yeah. And the sacrifices that have been made are not for me to continue to be hurt in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The sacrifices that have been made in a sense of the hurt that I've endured growing up. The idea is not for me to continue to, and life is going to life.
Oh,
but
definitely.
The idea is not for me to continue to endure that hurt because I'm continuing to walk in situations where I'm showing just how fatherless I am, trying to figure it out on my own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And no, having that time, which is what has happened, and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed because there are many of singers that are online right now. And I'm not the only one going viral, but there are many of singers that are online right now to where maybe it took their 20th video, it took their 30th video, it
That's
took
facts.
their 100th video
Yeah, that's definitely
to
that.
actually start seeing a change. It took my second. You know what I mean? And I thank God that I've been reintroduced so many times to be given that chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So many don't have it. There are people that know me now because of what's happening on the internet. And then every now and again I run across a post that says, "We've been looking for you. Where have you been since the 4?
Yeah.
We were rooting for you on TV." And then I have some people that are like, "Man, I love you bringing those vibes back out. I loved your record, Would You Mind, from 2015.
Those are important.
Next year I'll make that 10 years. To have, to still have that impact on people. And then there are people that know me for performing the national anthem for President Obama's last speech in the state of Florida.
Shout out to you.
We didn't talk
That's a
about
big,
that.
that's a big thing right there. Like being able to, for the President Obama, that was one hell of a wave in the sense of the world,
Absolutely.
what it was for his presidency, and for you to be able to get that opportunity to sing.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, like, people that get phone calls like that are Beyonce. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Usher at the White House, John Legend, Stevie Wonder, icons, legends.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer, So to have my city, the mayor, at the time, he's a city commissioner now. I may be getting this wrong. Please forgive me. But he was the mayor at the time, Mayor Oliver Gilbert, and a good friend of mine that was at Hot 105 at the time, Big Man Kelly. I was riding down the street. I was in my hood. I was in Myrtle Grove.
Yeah.
And they called me, and I picked up the phone, and they said, "Are you driving?" I said, "Yes." They said, "You need to pull over." So I pulled over.
Yeah.
The mayor actually walked out of a movie theater watching a movie to talk to me about this opportunity. He said, "Ronnie, I got an opportunity for you, and I wanted to know, how would you feel, or would you be interested in performing the national anthem for President Obama? I think that this is going to be his last speech in the state of Florida." And so I'm like, well, I got to check my schedule.
Yeah, hold on, let me see. Ain't doing nothing.
I ain't doing a damn thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course. Like, and so I just remember the preparation for it, speaking to, the powers that be in terms of security and, talking to them on the phone and answering all my security questions and everything like that. And, they told me that I can bring one person, and that was kind of hard for me because I honestly didn't know whether to bring my mom or to bring my grandmother.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, considering just the contribution. My mom, because she gave me life and she was an amazing mother, but my grandmother, because everything that I know about music
Came from
and that
her.
has gotten me to this point is because of you, I chose my mom, and because at some point I felt like that was something that I could live with, and my grandmother at the time, this is before the stroke and everything, so she was at home watching, so she was rooting. I actually made sure that I went to her house to get ready for it. So when they came to get us and everything like that, I set up all the arrangements to get me from there so that she could at least see me getting prepared for it, I get there. The people are going crazy. I mean, because, the capacity was limited.
Yeah.
So there are people that want to get in, they want to get that glimpse of
Yeah, you
Obama.
gotta
They
get
want
your
to be a
eyes
part
on
of
him.
this moment, And we pull up, Secret Service. It's like they parted the Red Sea for me and my mom. Even the people that knew of me were very excited to see me, but those that didn't, it was almost like, who is this
that?
guy?
Yeah.
Who is this? Now I'm in the back with some of the people that pretty much make the decisions and also help, shape our culture and our way of living. I'm back here with commissioners and mayors and state representatives and city councils and all kinds of people.
Yeah.
Secret Service, I don't know if I'm supposed to say their names, but or just the title itself, but they came in the back to let us all know that it's time to meet the president. Gave everybody the rules, terms, conditions, things of that sort. I'm in the line.
Yeah.
And then they call my name. Say Ronnie Smith to perform the national anthem. So I had to step out of the line.
You get jitters? Was it like performing for the first time again? Like when you...
Always. I tell people, if you're not nervous, goes to show how bad you really want it. I'm only nervous for something that I really want, really bad.
Yeah.
Whether it's I want to make an impact, I want to impress, I want to show why I deserve to be here. I want to reassure myself that I can do it. I want to reassure myself that my pain, my past, my present, all of my teaching, everything that I went through did not go in vain.
That's facts.
So yeah, I definitely felt that. I didn't get a chance to meet him because I had to step out of the line.
Yeah.
So a lot of people felt like that was a bomb. But I tell people all the time, to be able to have that as a frame in my house, it's many of people that got a picture with the president of the United States. There are many of people that had a chance to rub shoulders with him and this, that, and the third. But to be able to use my gift for his platform, as soon as I walked off, the president walked on. I have that footage, whether it's from iPhone or still the television footage, that I can show to my son when he's old enough to understand that his dad was a part of history.
His dad stood on business.
Stood on business. That meant more to me more than anything. Because the thing about it is, even if he's not the president now, who's to say, I don't put or would never want to put a ceiling on my life. Who's to say me and Obama, President Obama, I'm sorry, or former, or Mr. Obama, or Sir Obama, however we want to, title it at this point. Who's to say we won't cross paths in the future?
That's facts. Yeah.
But to be able to do that for you while you were the president and you were the first black president, my grandmother had the opportunity to see me and my mother perform for the first black president of this country. My son will know that his dad performed for the first black president of this country.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Man. I'm happy for you, man. Your journey is one to be like documentary. Gotta happen at some point. I'm just saying.
Oh, I clown with my family all the time and say, "Ooh, I can't."
This doc gonna be serious.
I don't know about Lifetime. Maybe Lionsgate. They got Bob's movie coming out. They're working on Michael's.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm just gonna plug this out. If they ever work on a Sidney Poitier, are you familiar with that name?
Yeah, I am.
If they ever work on a Sidney Poitier biopic, I think it's only right that I try out for that role.
Yeah,
because I think that also a lot of my strength comes from him, my family's strength. So Sidney Poitier is my great grandfather's brother.
Ah, okay.
So Cyril Poitier.
Okay.
So when you brought up about psychic and things like that, it made me think back like it depends on what it was titled, but back then for a lot of our ancestors, that really was a thing.
Yeah.
My Uncle Sidney was, I want to make sure I honor his story and I say it correctly because I know my family's history. He wasn't a stillborn, but they basically said that he wasn't going to make it. They made my great-great-grandfather Reginald go get a shoebox to pretty much prepare to bury him in it. My great-great-grandmother Evelyn, which is his mother, didn't want to give up on him, so she went to a soothsayer. And the soothsayer said, "Your son will not die. Your son will walk with kings. He will travel every corner of the earth." So of course, because they're from the Bahamas, my family's from the Bahamas, they
Yeah.
didn't really know. But she didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, they didn't see that
You know
coming,
what I
but
mean?
hey, yeah.
But believed in the soothsayer
Mm-hmm.
and told her husband, my great great grandfather Reginald, to get rid of the shoebox. He would live, and he did. And so, as he got a little older, my great great grandparents sent him to live with my great grandfather, his eldest brother Cyril.
Yeah.
But because he wasn't used to the South and the Jim Crow era at that time, you know, the KKK came by my great grandfather's house to look for him to kill him. And so at that point, they got him a ticket, and he wanted to go the furthest place. So the train said, well, there's a train going to Harlem, New York. Best place he could have landed in at that time.
Yeah,
It,
Harlem
it was
Renaissance.
all about blackness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And everybody just trying to
Get on the scene and
right,
do
just
that
trying
creativity.
to do, and all the, but he didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
He just knew he wanted to go as far as he could.
Yeah.
He didn't realize he was getting ready to walk into this with all this just blackness going on, and everybody's in suits, and everybody's walking around in newspaper and shoes shining, and living obviously a better life than what it looked like in the
Down
South.
here, yeah.
And it sucks that it's still kind of like that down here, just in a different way. But he didn't know what actors wanted meant. He just was looking for a job. He was already a dishwasher. And so he went to try out for acting, and they kicked him out of the theater because he didn't know how to read, he didn't know how to act, he didn't know how to do anything.
Which was common in the South back then. Yeah.
And so, but especially because you're coming from the Bahamas. So now all of your words are like cut up. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. You got the
So,
lingo, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the lingo is different. And the guy kicked him out and said, why don't you get yourself a job as a dishwasher? Not knowing he was already one. But if I'm already one and I didn't see that was bad, then what is it about this that makes it so special? His entire career was built off of proving somebody wrong, that he can be more than what you thought I was.
That chip on his shoulder.
So he started listening to the radio. There was a waiter guy, a white guy that would sit there with him and help him like learn how to repeat after words and read and this, that, and the third. He ended up landing right back at that same theater, an opportunity as a fill-in. But Harry Belafonte got sick, so he was able to fill in for him as a leading role. And the rest is history. Film, first black man, first black actor to ever receive an Oscar for a leading role, and so many other things that he went off to do, including even being an ambassador for Japan. Just so many things. He's Sidney Poitier.
Yeah.
And I bring up my family's history with that as well, because there's so much about my little life. You know, there's so much that is that I come from that has, you know, whether I'm trying to figure it out or whether I have figured it out or whatever the case may be, but it has inspired me to just keep going. Whether it is the loss or whether it is the gain, there's so many things that I feel like God allowed to, like, what are the odds?
Yeah, honestly.
What are the odds my great-grandfather's brother, this is my grandfather's father, so this is my mother's grandfather. My mother's maiden name is Poitier. Her name is Delshon Poitier Smith. My dad's last name was Smith. His name was Ronnie Smith.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are the odds that I would be so connected to such, you know, so many different, you know, just avenues and different things that have just carried me and kept me going, you know? And so, yeah, man, I actually had the opportunity to speak to him. This is before he passed. He passed last year.
Okay.
His birthday came about maybe a few years ago. And I say to my aunt, I say, oh, aunt, auntie, today's Uncle Sidney's birthday. She said, oh, really? And she did something for me that nobody had ever did for me. She went in a phone book. She went to flipping through the pages. She's real old school. She's an older lady. She's like 80-something right now. Shouts out to my Aunt Rosie.
Shout out to her.
And she called him. I ain't believe she really had the number. I was shocked.
Yeah.
And she called him. And his wife picked up the phone. And he got on the phone. I'm like a kid in the candy store. Please let me talk to him, please.
Yeah.
And so she says, Sydney, I'm just gonna let you talk to Cyril grandson because he acting like he gonna lose his mind if he don't talk to you. And so she let me get the phone. And I said, hello, Uncle Sydney, this is Ronnie, happy birthday. I said, how are you? And I'll never forget, he said, my day is going so much better now that I have spoken with you.
Oh, that's love. That's love right there.
And so now, this is around the time I explained to him who I was, what I'm doing, told him that I'm a singer and all of the things I'm getting ready to do. This is before the 4 and all of that. And I said, I'm getting ready to do this festival down here called Jazz in the Gardens. It's myself. I'm one of the openers, but you have Kool in the Game on this show, Charlie Wilson, Aretha Franklin, Usher. You know, so I'm really excited about doing this. He said, well, good for you. And I wish you many great things. And so I had to do something. So I had to leave. And I really hated that I had to leave in that moment because somebody was waiting for me. And so I said, well, it was so good talking to you. And I want you to know that I love you. And he said, I love you too. And I want you to know that this may be the first time we've spoken, but it definitely won't be the last. And so that hit me, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm going to L.A. for the first time to do the 4. The only family member that I know of that I have in L.A. is my Uncle Sydney.
Yeah.
My family doesn't know this, but I made a phone call to one of my family members in the Bahamas. Yeah. And they gave me his number. So the first person I called when I got to L.A. was that number. Soon as I exited, I don't even know if that's a word, but as soon as I made my exit out of LAX, I called that number. His wife answered. And so she explained to me that his schedule is very strict now. He's 90-something years old. You know what I'm saying? She said, let's aim for tomorrow around 11 a.m. Give me a call in advance, and let's see what we can do. Because mind you, this is like Beverly Hills or whatever. I don't even know where I am right now.
You're just trying to figure out where,
Unfortunately, that was around the same time that I would be filming for not the performance part of the show, but goes back to what I said about the hours and time that was put.
That goes into the cutscenes.
And because his schedule was so strict, I wasn't able to meet the time requirement to have lunch or just to go to the house. Because I even went to a Barnes and Nobles at a mall in L.A. To find his book, A Measures of a Man. Yeah. And they only had one copy left.
And you got it.
And I got it. And I got it so that I can take it to the house.
And get him to sign it.
I don't know if I was going to ask him to sign it because I didn't want him to feel like I never wanted him to feel like I wanted to ask for anything.
I get that.
I'm not asking for your resources. I know Lenny Kravitz and Denzel was just here the other day. I just saw it on Instagram. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I never wanted to make him feel like I needed him for my success. If anything, I just wanted him to feel like I needed him in a sense of all that he meant to me. Yeah. You know, if I felt like I was going through this in life, I can always revert back to my uncle's story to continue to be an inspiration.
Look at his obstacles, things that he overcame, and know that whatever you're dealing with, you're going to overcome it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And knowing that I came from that, you know? So I never got a chance to meet him. And my great-grandfather, which is his brother, passed back in like 92. Yeah. So that was the last time that my mom saw him. Okay. When he came down to be with the family. But I had a chance to meet my Uncle Reginald, who was the eldest brother that was left out of the siblings. Yeah. Everybody's gone now. Sydney was the last not just because he was the youngest, but he was the youngest and he was the last to pass away. But I went to the Bahamas to see my Uncle Reg. And he looks just like my Uncle Sydney. But the crazy part about it is that was the first time he met me. And when I walked in the house, he felt like he saw a ghost. Didn't even get a chance to tell him I was Cyril's grandson. None of that. Yeah. He said, this boy looks so much like Sydney. And he had a big portrait of my uncle in his living room. Yeah. And I walked in the living room and they just had me taking pictures next to the portrait. And it was a portrait of Uncle Sidney.
Mm-hmm.
And although everybody has different opinions, although if some days I may look and I may be like, okay, I kind of see the family resemblance, and then some days I'm like, no, I don't see it.
Yeah.
But what it did for me was confirmed that I am a reflection of my family. You know what I mean? I'm a reflection of that greatness. I'm a reflection of all that we've been through, but still where we, you know, where we're going, where we're headed, you know, and where we have come. So, yeah, my Uncle Reg just passed now. He passed like 2 years after I went to the Bahamas to visit him.
I'm sorry for your loss.
It's all good. Thank you. You know what? No need. Need. When a lot of my family members, Uncle Reg was 97, Uncle Sidney was 92.
So they saw life.
My great-grandfather Cyril was in his 90s because he was the eldest brother.
Mm-hmm.
They lived.
Yeah.
You know, they lived.
They had their time. Enjoy
Absolutely.
life. Yeah.
And we're not here to stay. But at least when you can say that I had the opportunity to live, because I've also had family members that have passed at a very young age. Jada Page, my little cousin, 8 years old. You know what I'm saying? My little cousin, Derica Banks, hit and run. Still haven't found who did it. 17 years old, 54th and between 10th and 12th, I think.
Yeah.
You know? So, and even if it's not my family, just seeing people in general, you know, being from South Florida, so much that we witness, so much that we, you know, just...
It's starting to come like a day-to-day thing nowadays. Yeah. Like when you see, whether it's on social media or the news or just word by ear, you know, people that you coming across and, I just lost this or I just lost that. Or, you know, I've even had a family member recently, crazy. I didn't even know that was my family, but I heard of it in the news in which she jumped off the passway on the expressway. It was 2 children in the car. They passed. Yeah, so it's been like I said, like this COVID era, it forced people to like face whatever they've been putting off.
Yeah.
So it's like not everybody's you know, understanding how to deal with it. And there's a lot of change going on in South Florida. A lot of people moving in, moving out.
Right.
So it's a lot of stuff going on, and I think a lot of people get caught up in the day-to-day. They forget to look up and, like you said, appreciate the things that surround you and the things. And those are the type of things I feel like will ground you and keep you in ability to handle these issues and hurdles that you come across and be able to keep moving forward. But if you don't, sometimes you get lost in it and you feel like you're alone. You feel like, you know, there's nothing left to live for, or, you know, in other cases where people are not paying attention, like you said, a hit and run. You know, because they're all in their head. They're not paying attention at the road. Right. You know, things like that. So it's...
absolutely. And because there's so much going on when you're in South Florida, some things tend to be more of a topic and trending than to just stand on it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things that we would have just learned how, or we can just learn how to stand on something until we can see, because we have become that change. You know? Like when my little cousin passed and King Carter passed away at 6 years old, I was inspired to write a song called Set Me Free. And so when I started writing the song, one of my good friends, Zorenzo, he also helped me co-write the song. Shouts out to Zorenzo.
Shout out to him.
And something in me was like, it's not just about me going to the studio and, you know, recording this song and it just being Ronnie V, Set Me Free kind of thing. But to get as many singers together as I can. Yeah. And to unify this thing. That goes back to that DVD that my grandmother gave me of We Are the World, though. Way before this Netflix documentary came out last week, I was already inspired by that story because of the homework that I did, which eventually led me to know about things like D'Angelo, Black Men United, you know, which was another kind of situation with different, you know, black male artists coming together for a cause. Yeah. So I wanted to do it. I don't like the word local or locally, but I wanted to do it home-based. You know what I mean? So I got all the singers together. There's Pleasure P on that record. Jay Shin is on that record. Urban Mystic, Zorenzo, Myro Mo, Jay Howard, Jed, Trav Falcone. So many of the singers that I was familiar with, including singers that came, but, you know, probably had to leave because obviously with all these singers and I had to learn placement. You know, most of the time when you're doing stuff like this, you're a D'Angelo, you're a Quincy Jones, you're
pretty
Lionel
much.
Richie.
You got to be able to structure everything.
I'm literally trying to figure all this out I won't say on my own because it was definitely a team effort, but in the midst of everybody figuring it out themselves as well, there was no plan other than, okay, I think I want you to do this verse. I think I want you to, but nonetheless, we got it together and was blessed to shoot a music video for it. And most of the music videos, when you have all of those artists together, because I don't care if you're up and coming, I don't care if you're mainstream, it's still hard to get people on the same schedule.
Yeah,
you know,
that alone is difficult.
So most of the time when you see videos like We Are the World, or you see videos like Black Men United, you will know it's the in-studio performances because we have everybody here now, so just knock it out now.
Yeah.
I was blessed to get all those guys to come together to actually shoot a music video to make it all come back full circle.
Yeah.
With the cause.
And that's
of the
difficult.
Song.
Yeah.
Luckily, they made it very easy for me, but but you can imagine it still would be somewhat difficult. Like Jed was shooting a 12-hour music video of his own. And with a major production, Sam Brave being the director, like that's not easy.
Yeah.
So on his lunch break, which was just supposed to be the lunch break, him and his team swung over to our location to do his parts for Set Me Free, just to go right back to his video
and
shoot and continue his set. So there were a lot of sacrifices that were being made, you know? Pleasure P had a really big festival that he had to do. I think it was in Texas. This was a while ago, so I can't remember. But a lot of people were making the time. So we put the video out. Ronnie V featuring Miami, Set Me Free. And I probably should have named it South Florida because a lot of those guys were from like Broward and stuff. But at the time, it was just Ronnie V featuring Miami, Set Me Free. And to who it got to, and my grandmother always told me that as long as you touch one person, you've done your job.
Yeah.
To who it got to, I think that it meant a lot to a lot of people. Even King Carter's parents called me and told me that his mom told me that that's her favorite song. She would just listen to it every day, every day. She just couldn't believe that a song was in tribute to her son and many other children. Magnitude. But also just to what we did, you know? But then it's like, to bring this back around full circle, Miami, South Florida, we got to stand on it. You know what I'm saying? And the reason I'm saying that is because it never was about me. It never was about me being the face of anything with this particular project, but how important it was for everybody to stand behind that record, just as well as we stand behind records that are not healing our community.
That's facts.
You know what I'm saying? Because I can imagine, and I hate to name other places, but I can imagine if Set Me Free probably came out in Atlanta, maybe in Chicago, maybe in certain places, there's a collective or a group of people that are saying, no, we're gonna. I can imagine if it came out in Atlanta, it probably would have been in a Tyler Perry movie or something like that. But that's what was needed, and still needed today, because we still, it's although it says feature Miami, it might as well should have said feature in the world, because there's so much happening. Yeah. Whether it's here or whether it's, you know, in other countries and places. So I think I'm going to revisit that song.
I think that'll be a dope idea, man.
I think I'm. I think yeah, I'm good though.
Right.
I think I'm going to revisit that song.
Okay.
But definitely just how important it is, like we said, aside from so many different things happening, knowing that when it is something that is not benefiting our people, when it's something that, or people in general, when it's something that, you know, just when we all know that we're in a space of healing, we really got to stop or maybe take a pause on trying to find other ways to cope with it and just deal with the situation at hand. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Yeah, deal with it. And I think musically, that's what I was trying to do. You know, just put the message with the music and not separate it, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you, is there anything coming up that we should be looking for coming from you? Any more videos or performances, you know, like what are you working on currently?
Currently, I'm really enjoying, you know, doing the content. I'm really enjoying not just it reminding people that have already been familiar with me of what I'm doing and continuing to do, but inviting and welcoming new people into the space as well as they're allowing me in their space, right?
Yeah.
And so, excuse me. And so I'm really excited about that. And I have an EP that's getting ready to come out. It's titled Lover. Thank you. So this one is really strictly for the lovers, just in a sense of, you know, you in love, you want to be in love, you're making love, whatever the case may be. This project in particular is direct to that. So you'll see a lot of the red going on. You'll see a lot of the roses. You'll see a lot of just me finding my ways to just make sure that I am, you know, just gearing up for this. This project is produced by Neri. It's not long. It's about 4 or 5 tracks. 5 tracks. And I'm excited about it. It's a vibe. It's a moment. And I think that it's definitely time to just, you know, put out some new material, original material. I love the content. I try to make it as original as possible for my own, you know, just giving people a taste of my approach to music and just where I am right now in the music. But definitely just making sure that, you know, I'm gearing up for my own. And then at that point, as we continue to grow this community of people, as we continue to grow this, I don't know why fan base for me or just fans in general, it's just always been a thing where I not really continue to grow this family.
I like
you know,
that.
Continue to grow this family, that we can continue to do other things and just laying brick by brick, you know, literally. Sometimes we so focused on the mansion, we forget to lay brick by brick.
Yeah, and then without laying brick by brick, you can't even get the mansion.
You can't. You know, and so, or you get the mansion, but you don't really know how to appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? Because you were not a part of the process.
Yeah, building
and
it up.
And technically, later on down the line, if I can afford a mansion, it's because I went through a process to afford that mansion.
And you know how to do it. Yeah.
So literally just brick by brick, and I'm thankful for that. And getting out of my own way, you know, and as long as I'm continuing to do that, not being so hard on myself, I will always be a perfectionist, but once it gets to a point where it's getting in the way, we have a problem.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are many things that MJ, Stevie, Beyonce, people probably, even here with this podcast, I wish I would have asked this question instead of that. But once you put it out, you know, no regrets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And being in that space. At that point, we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm independent right now. There's no team. I mean, there's a team in a sense of the musical creating process. I'm thankful for people that believe in me in that sense.
Yeah.
Being from South Florida, I feel like it's been a little difficult forming a team that can believe in I would like to consider myself a musician all around the border, but if I'm in the era of R&B right now, can understand that formula, can understand how we can do this and do that, it's been pretty difficult.
Yeah.
And that's just me being honest on this platform. But what I will say is just I like Hov said, keep showing up. You know, just keep showing up. And what's for me will be for me. Whether I remain independent and at some point we're fronting our own tours, at some point we're fronting our own, you know, whatever it is. Or maybe a situation will come about that makes sense for my side of the you know, stick and their side, and you know, okay, cool, then we can make something happen. But either way it goes, I won't stop doing music. I can't. It's who I am. And when I was in that dark space, it had me trying to figure out what am I? Am I a UPS guy? Am I a FedEx guy? And there's no disrespect to any of them, because there are many people that have jobs but also have dreams and aspirations. Yeah. But I was literally at the point where I didn't know if that's just who I was supposed to be, because it seemed like I was all over the place and didn't know how to continue to proceed. You continue to proceed by using what you've been given. It's just that simple, you know? And I don't know how to paint a house. I don't know how to cut grass. I don't know how to I don't know how to drive 18-wheelers. I don't know how to do a lot of things. I don't know how to play football, even with this height, 6'5". I don't know how to play basketball. But I know how to make and create art through my music.
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts. And I want to thank you so much for coming on this show, man, blessing us with your journey, man. Honestly, like, me knowing you from afar is like the in-depthness of everything that you've been through. There's a lot of similarities that I've seen that you've been through that I was able to relate to. You know what I mean? Even being young and being in middle school with each other, I didn't know you was dealing with that at that time. You know what I mean? As far as like not having your father and the things that you were dealing with on that aspect. and how I went through similar things from my parents being separated. You know what I mean? It just watching your journey has just been a blessing. And I just want you to keep going, keep doing what you're doing, man. You're doing great, man. Honestly.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And this is not in my closing, I guess, this is not, you know, in a way to just make this as if this title is all that my dad was. This is just a different time in life. This is Miami. This is the late 80s, the early 90s. Everybody was just trying to survive. Yeah. But I look at it this way. If my dad was a dope dealer, then it's meant for me to be a hope dealer, you know? And most people didn't know my story. This is the first time I'm really getting an opportunity to say it, and I don't know if certain things have to be cut off for time restrictions and whatnot, but I've tried to tell it many of times. Yeah. And by the time I look at the final playback,
it's not the same.
It wasn't told the way that I wanted it to be told. So with that being said, a lot of people didn't know what I was going through and still have went through in my personal life. And I don't know what people go through in their personal life. But no matter where I have stood or what platform that I've been on that may have inspired, encouraged, or uplifted someone, that's what I'm here to do. You know, even through all of my pain, it's to help people get through theirs, through the music, you know what I'm saying? And knowing that I have a responsibility and I have to uphold it, you know, because now I got a little man at home that has his toy microphone.
And he looking up at you.
And when he sees me on the screen and I do a spin, he tries to do a spin. If I hit a note, he tries to hit that same note. I am his inspiration, you know? And so that as well, you know, is what, and the people, is what keeps me going. And I have to keep going.
And where can they find you at?
So on TikTok, it's Ronnie VOP. That's RONNIE VOP. On Instagram, it's Ronnie_VOP. That's RONNIE_VOP. Okay. Facebook, if you're still on there, Ronnie VOP. And YouTube, Ronnie V. So now, I don't want to confuse everybody. My new name is Ronnie V. I did go as Ronnie VOP for years. Unfortunately, because people kept fucking it up.
Yeah, you say, you know.
Give it up for Ronnie VSOP. Like, know the ones drink Remy. But, or no, better. Oh, give it up for Ronnie Vop or Ronnie. Yeah, I kind of just got tired of it, and honestly, because it traveled with me for so long, and by the time I was done with the 4 and everything I've already expressed, so I don't want to get back into it for time purposes. But I just felt like this is the rebirth of me, and I'm very excited about it, and I just wanted to feel it all around the border in terms of my name, in terms of, you know, image, music, everything. So I'm excited about this new chapter.
Man, I'm excited for you also, man. And if you ever got, you know, something you want to get off your chest, talk about, man, feel free to come on back to Artist to Artist. For sure. You know what I mean? You can follow us on Instagram, A2A.podcast. We're also on TikTok. We're also on YouTube. And you can find us on Spotify also. A2A.podcast, Artist to Artist podcast. Follow the AV Club. This is where we shoot. You know, if you're interested in doing a podcast yourself, come on in.
Love this spot. Love it.
And
I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you don't understand, to the platform A2A. Yeah. To you, thank you so much for having me here.
You're welcome,
man. Should I say this? Okay, let me just say
go ahead.
I wasn't able to make it last week or whatever.
It's cool.
But I want you to know I was anticipating this. I really was. I was super excited about being able to come here today.
Oh, that's fire.
And how can I word this really quickly? It owned up to its standards. It's so nice. What are the odds? Is it really 3:05 p.m.? Oh no, okay.
Yeah.
Still, that's cool. It says 3:05. Yeah. Which is, you know, 3:05 Miami. But that's all I really wanted to say. I thank you. You know, I know a lot of the time the artists like to come on the platforms and we try to, you know, as if we so used to this, or try to come with this, you know, just this laid back mentality. Yeah. And considering, you know, and of course those that do that when they have certain resumes, you know. But for me, you know, this was really a moment, and I'm just really thankful that I was able to share it, and it was a full circle moment. We come from the same backyard,
pretty much.
Yeah. So
yeah. West Palm. I'm from West Palm.
Renaissance.
Tri Rail.
Then studio.
Studio.
So. And it's crazy that you felt like that. Like, oh, man, I don't want to interrupt them, because I've had so many moments like that with people. Like I remember one time I made a mistake and walked in her studio session.
Oh,
and I
I
was
just-
like, ooh, let me back up.
I know
Like,
you recording, but
yeah. Like I didn't know you were in here.
Yeah.
So, but nah, anytime, bro. Like I thank you, and I'm looking forward to coming back, especially when the EP is released and we got more to talk
Ooh,
about.
let's get it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Thank you again. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.